Okay, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. And so they come on. Okay, call the meeting order. Pledge of allegiance. Please stand and face the flag. Tom, if you lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mary Helen, roll call, please.
Pioneer Town, Michelle. Pioneer Town, Michelle Myers. Yucca Mesa, Tom Ziegert.
Here.
Richard Lutringer, Landers.
Here.
Mark Lundquist, Joshua Tree.
Here.
Lib Koenig, Flamingo Heights. Pat Flanagan, Desert Heights. Teresa Seitz, Wonder Valley. Absent, correct?
Yeah, she's excused.
Okay. Morongo Valley, Gail Swarrett. Here. Copper Mountain Mesa, Mary Helen Tuttle. Here.
Okay, adoption of agenda.
I move we adopt the minutes of February 8th.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item E, approval of minutes of February 8, 2016, and they're on the back, draft minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of February 8th.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Do I hear a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, call for public comment. At this time, anyone may comment on items not on the agenda that are of interest to the public and within the jurisdiction of the MAC. The MAC is prohibited by law from taking action on matters not on the agenda. Comment may be offered on items on the agenda when those items come up for discussion or action. A limit of 3 comments per item and 3 minutes per comment may be imposed. In all cases, if you wish to speak, please submit a registration card to the secretary and proceed to the podium when recognized by the chair. Speakers should address the MAC as a whole. Comments to individual delegates and/or staff are not appropriate at this venue. Okay. Do we have comments? Pardon?
You said to hand them to you.
Yes. Let's go. Tom, you're up first. Mr. O'Kee.
Not on the agenda.
Not on the agenda. Yeah, we haven't got to the agenda items yet.
Here's it here.
I guess this is the one. Hi, Tom O'Kee, Joshua Tree. Thank you, MAC Board, for allowing me to speak. I want to talk about dark skies. And maybe some of you know I'm an astronomer here in town. And I'm also an IDA chapter leader for the International Dark Sky Association, which is an international group of scientists and enthusiasts who promote dark skies around the world. We're represented in over 60 countries with a lot of members. And one thing that happens with our group is we promote every aspect of the health of a good dark sky, what it means to people in their personal health, health for the environment, wildlife, all that good stuff. And we have news about what's going on in our county with regards to dark skies. Thanks to efforts coming from our supervisor, James Ramos, and his staff, Phil Pauley, his chief of staff, they've initiated a dark sky committee. They've asked me to chair this committee, and we've selected some friends who are going to be on that committee. We had a meeting here recently, and we're going to be picking up where we left off with the dark sky effort that was started with the MBDSA, which was the Morongo Basin Dark Sky Alliance, that had 21 months worth of meetings trying to come up with a new ordinance to deal with the county's issue on dark skies. So we're going to pick it up, see where we go from there. We're about to start our first meetings, and so that will all be happening very shortly. On another note about dark skies, our Joshua Tree National Park has been working for quite some time to create the documents necessary to apply to the IDA for dark sky status. And I have their Well, it's their application, and it's 126 pages. It's a lot of work went into this. In fact, the scientists, Luke Sabala, Andrea Compton was involved in this, and a lot of other people in the park have documented and put together all the required elements that come from the IDA to become a dark sky designated park, and it's being submitted. I'm asking the MAC, because I was asked by the park to submit my IDA letter in support of this designation. I drove through the park and I saw that it met all of the standards that I was aware of and was very impressed with the darkness of the park. Part of what this does is it gives the park a chance to be able to be recognized internationally as a dark sky park. It also gives the park a chance to influence the communities around the park to be sensitive, you know, about our lighting. If you get down to Cottonwood, you'll see Coachella has not been very friendly on our night sky, but then when you look eastward and southeastward, you see what used to be there and what we've got to bring back, and maybe with the help of the communities and the realization that the dark sky status is part of the park, we'll do that. But anyway, I was very impressed with the work. Luke Sabala and Stacy Manson are the current lead agents in the park working on this, and so I think that's all I have. I'm asking for you to support the letter that I'm sending along with this. Thank you.
Tom, I have a question, if I could. Would you be willing to just submit a list of the committee members to the MAC?
Yeah, as soon as they've actually been officially invited, we're waiting for the county to actually officially put the invitations to them. The list has been created, and the invitation is going to come officially from the county. You know, I had a meeting with James Ramos last week. It was discussed, and we know that's going to be coming, and as soon as I've done that part, then we will absolutely do it. It'll be here for next meeting, I'm hoping. You're welcome.
Thank you. Almond Fleck.
Good evening, Almut Fleck. There was a gas leak in Wonder Valley, and the community is upset that the community was not informed. We didn't know it would last only 4 hours, so people smelled it and called around, and I think we should have been informed of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Almond. Next speaker, Gary Stiller and Dan Bartlett.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Styler. I'm Gary Styler. I have a handout for you.
I'm Dan Bartlett.
We live in Morongo Valley, and we tried to have this as an informational session because it is a county-wide issue pertaining to the approval of private and commercial kennels. So I have a handout for you, and then we'll explain our situation. Well, the handout explains one convoluted Byzantine process that occurs in a lot of different places, but recently affected us in Little Morongo Heights, where a dog hoarder, documented, who caused the death of many animals, a huge expense to the county, was just given a kennel permit. This happened up in Kern County recently, and it caused the removal of several county officials. And it is an issue because, you know, Dan and the neighborhood has been looking at this since 2002. And we've tried to have this on the agenda just as a county-wide issue, but got put down, turned down. So it's just a 3-minute interview. Sorry about that. Anyways, in looking at the process, the county does not take into account public input. It does not look at prior records from animal control. It looks strictly at five items for the approval process. That means they do a home visit. They look at distances from, let's see, a nearby residence to the proposed kennel, and then they go ahead and approve it, even though they've asked everyone for input. 4 letters from us. We have another kennel that was permitted 3/10 of a mile away. 3/10 of a mile. Now we have 2 of them in the community. And my reason for coming here, my whole rationale is to say this is a county-wide issue. And I have given our friends here on MAC a recommendation. I'm not here to complain. It is just an issue that could happen in your neighborhood any place. So we're here for informational purposes, and I've written a recommendation, and I would really ask if MAC could approve it and forward it to Supervisor Ramos. Do you have any questions of us?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Alma, I have a second one, but you've already commented, haven't you? Okay, we'll give you another 3 minutes.
Oh, well, I'll just keep you tallied then. It's not a tab, Almut.
We recently had 2 fires in Wanda Valley, and the response we feel was very inadequate. The people who staffed the fire department in Wanda Valley were not trained to use the truck, and by the time they got out, of course, the fire was nearly gone. I mean, they just hosed off the slab. So this is something that is very serious. As long as we still have a fire department in Wanda Valley, we do expect that the people are trained to drive it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. That concludes our speakers for off-agenda items. For some reason, Sheriff, law enforcement, and fire didn't get on the agenda. So
Who did this agenda?
We're just going to skip it. No, I'm only kidding. But as of right now, they're back on. And Sheriff Captain Jeff Joling will take the lead. Thank you, Captain.
Good evening, everybody. So it's good to see everybody again. As usual, I'll talk a little bit about statistics for this past month in February. All the deputies, it's over 2,700 square miles we have here in the county area. The calls for service that the Sheriff's Department responded to in the county areas was 1,577. Of those, 80 reports were taken, and 45% of those reports taken were cleared by arrest. So 36 people went to, 36 of the cases were cleared by arrest. They wrote 22 citations. There were no murders, thank goodness. I know that since I speak here every month, everybody's always interested in the burglary rate and kind of how that's going. In the county areas in February, we had 11 burglaries. So in Johnson Valley, there was 1 reported burglary. In the Yucca Mesa and Landers area, there were 6. Morongo Valley had 0. 3 in Joshua Tree. The northern 29 Palms area had 0, and Wonder Valley had 1 reported burglary. For off-highway vehicle complaints, there were 37 different complaints. Yucca Mesa and Landers had 10. Morongo Valley had 13 complaints in the community, 4 in Joshua Tree, 1 in northern 29 Palms, and 9 in Wonder Valley. As far as robbery, none, 0. So no murders. So we're looking pretty good. Now, one of the things that we've talked about in the past meeting are your neighborhood watch meetings. We got some trainings coming up. I put a stack of flyers out by the water cooler. I don't know if that was the right place to put them. But we have a lot of neighborhood watch trainings coming up here on Monday, March 21st. We'll be hosting it in the Yucca Room of the Yucca Valley Senior Center. And on March 23rd will be the Community Service Building out in 29 Palms. And those will start at 6:30, same time this meeting starts. And we invite everybody to join, come get trained, and if you have additional questions, we can answer them at that meeting. So that concludes my report, but does anybody have any questions for me while I'm standing up here?
Actually, I do.
Okay, you're allowed. Yes, sir.
If I could, is there any, was the human trafficking arrest, you think that was an isolated event, or do you think that it was just something that we're just beginning to see in the area?
Well, as far as our area goes, that's the only human trafficking case. We had one in 29 Palms last year, which eventually resulted in arrests. I believe they turned themselves in here several months ago. We haven't had any other cases of human trafficking. However, the valley areas have experienced a significant increase. A lot of that's due to awareness, as well as we have a dedicated unit for the department that works down in the valley. They came up and helped us with this case, and they handle those. They seen a rise in this community, the surrounding communities. That's the only case that I know of. Human trafficking consists of where people bring in juveniles, they don't have to be juveniles, and use them. Sometimes sexual exploitation, slavery, that a lot of them are runaway juveniles. At least they start out that way, and they basically end up being captive to either a lifestyle or a particular place. Well, that's not the only aspect. I mean, they end up, those people end up getting moved around the United States. That is, that's the inform, yes. That's pretty much the definition we use in law enforcement, the most common we see with human trafficking. Some of the victims are from out of country, from out of state. But luckily, we haven't seen a huge increase here in our local communities, nor do we want to. So, are we good? Oh, Mary Helen, yes, ma'am?
Big surprise. So listen, so since we last met, you were, and you were grilled, and I do apologize, don't take it personal. And shortly after that, there was a big article in the paper that I believe it was the sheriffs did a successful bust of the group that you felt was doing all the burglaries. Do you feel as though that they were the ones?
Well, to some degree, yes. They were responsible for a core group of the residential burglaries, Connex box theft, burglaries that happen in all of our communities here. We're still rounding people up. They did a really good job. And I want to pat my staff on the back. I mean, they recovered a lot of Connex boxes, probably north of $60,000 worth of stolen property. They're still rounding up other little groups. Sometimes it's like stamping on an anthill, though, where it takes some prolonged effort to get everybody rounded up that are stealing vehicles, breaking into the houses. And as a follow-up from last month's meeting, I mean, I've asked for additional staffing for the area. So looking long-term, maybe we could have some solutions for additional staffing of deputy sheriffs in the area. Maybe improve maybe some of the wait times that people have to wait because we have so far to travel. But we did recover quite a bit of the property. And we're gonna just keep at it until people get the picture. This is not the county to commit crime in.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Y'all had your whack at me last month, so.
Thank you, Captain, I appreciate it.
And you were a very good sport.
Thank you, Mary Helen.
Yeah, and again, I apologize for leaving you off the agenda. I am part of the county senior recycling program, so.
Yeah, well, I feel traumatized.
Yeah. How about CHP, Eric Robles and partner? Yep.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Simon Miller. I'm the Public Information Officer for the California Highway Patrol here in the Morongo Basin. I did have one comment that came from the young lady on the end there earlier about information dissemination and timeliness. I guess our CHP traffic website has been slow to update, so there have been some incidents recently where we had closures on the highway that people weren't able to get information for or correct information about. So we are going to look into that, and I will get an answer as far as I don't know where they get their information, if it's our information or if it's, there are several other apps you can get for phones and tablets, etc., where people do get information and update it as they see fit. So there are several places you can get information, but in the meantime, I will look into what CHP does provide and make sure that we can get timely information to the Morongo Basin residents. I know we only have a few ways of getting into or out of this place. So when one of those routes is closed for a prolonged amount of time, it does greatly impact traffic in our area. So I will look into that. Also, I do want to get a jump on next month. April is going to be Distracted Driver Awareness Month. So we will be putting together classes for teen distracted driving and adult distracted driving and driver awareness and things of that nature. So anybody that has any questions or wants to get into one of those classes or wants to get that information out, we will be putting that together. I will be getting dates together for April, and we will go into the schools and other places to where we can put those classes on for anybody that's interested. So if you know of somebody, if you have teenage drivers or other people in your lives that you care about and you want them to attend one of those classes, please do call our office. Ask for me, Simon Miller. I can get that information to you.
We found out today that we lost an officer. That's why we're at this band. He was killed at the Gold Run. Yeah, Officer Taylor, as a young officer, he had about 6 years in the department. Turned out he was hit by a vehicle. It was an accident. He was out directing traffic control in the snow. And unfortunately, you know, there's always a family associated with it. And there's 3 kids. He has 3 sons. So it's tragic to us. I don't know if anybody in my office knew him, but because we get spread all over the state, you know, I've lost a few of my comrades, as maybe Simon has as well. The point of all this is that the firemen, Caltrans, us, the Sheriff's Department, county workers, tow truck drivers, even you, please, when you see that vehicle stopped on the side of the road, you know, try to give them a little bit of a wide berth, you know, maybe switch lanes. If you see the flashing blue and red lights and yellow lights, we're standing out there, and at 65 miles an hour, which is the speed limit, you know, those traffic cones that you may run over or that debris in the roadway that suddenly you can't get around, it becomes real because that can be one of us. So just try to keep that in mind, maybe spread the word, because it's always tragic every time we lose a life, whether it be a law enforcement officer, civilian, or military fireman, or whatever the case is. But that's why we wore this today, and we're supposed to wear them, and our flags are at half-mast at our office. But I just wanted to bring that up because it's important to all of us that we can all be a target broke down on the side of the road with a flat tire. And it's important as responsible drivers in our great state and our nation to, when we see somebody broke down the side of the road, slow down, pull over, and be a little bit of a courteous driver. Okay? Thank you. Anybody have any questions for either Simon and I? This is Simon's first opportunity to actually come out and talk. He took Joan's spot, and you probably have seen Joan out there, hopefully not in a professional manner. But she has been quite active, I'll have you know. So if you cross her path...
I see Joan stopped more than I see her driving.
Yes, yeah, you're absolutely right. She makes stops right across the street from the office, just across from my window. I don't know if she's trying to tell me something or not, but it happened again today. Anyway, thanks everybody, and you have a safe evening.
Thank you very much. We've got both Cal Fire and County Fire. Who would like to go first? Scott?
Good evening. My name is Scott Tuttle. I'm a Battalion Chief with San Bernardino County Fire Department, stationed here in Yucca Valley. Just run through some stats real quickly here. For the month of February, Yucca Valley, and this is all of our responses: fires, traffic collisions, medical aids, rescues, everything we go on. Yucca Valley, we had 364 calls. Landers, we had 23 calls. Johnson Valley had 8 calls. Joshua Tree had 86 calls. Pioneer Town had 5 calls, and Wonder Valley had 16 calls. We also, in the month of February, had additional staffing for the King of the Hammers off-road race out in Johnson Valley. So that kept us busy that last week of January into the first week of February. While I'm standing here, while we're here, I have to talk about El Nino, even though it's been a major disappointment. Well, disappointment in the fact that they said it was going to be a big deal and we haven't seen a lot of it. However, that being said, we're still being vigilant, still trying to be prepared for El Nino. It could still hit us. There's still some storms coming in. It's still considered our rainy season, so we have sandbags and sand available at the fire stations. We also have flyers. There's information on our website, so if anybody has any questions on how to prepare your home for flooding or El Nino, you can go to our website. Talking about flooding, we're also at the same time, we're gearing up for wildland season. Summer's right around the corner, so we're starting to get prepared for the wildfires, and we suggest that you folks do the same. Prepare your houses. Again, on our website, there's some handy tips on how to make your house fire safe. Yesterday, we changed our clocks back, or sprang them forward. So that's our twice a year reminder to change our batteries and our smoke detectors. So I just want to encourage everybody to check your smoke detectors, your carbon monoxide detectors, natural gas detectors, everything you have. Make sure they're working, make sure they have good batteries in them. Lastly, just to comment about the 2 fires in Wonder Valley last week. We did spend our normal response. We have 2 firefighters at that station. They responded immediately. Within 2 minutes, they were on the road. When they got on scene, the house, we're talking about the first incident here, the house was fully involved. So there's not much those guys could have done. We had great cooperation from our mutual aid cooperators from 29 Palms and the Marine Base, as well as some staffing from Yucca Valley. While those guys were cleaning up that fire, the second fire happened. And again, they responded immediately. They broke away from the first fire, went to the second fire, and again, the house was fully involved. So there wasn't a lot they could do with either one of the houses. It is tragic, and I'm sorry for the homeowners. But again, there wasn't a lot we could do at that point. By the time we got the call, unfortunately, we don't know how long those fires were burning. They could have been burning for hours, smoldering, building up, building up. By the time somebody saw it, the flames were coming out the windows and out the roof. So there's really not a lot we can do at that point. So
there wasn't anybody in those homes?
No.
They didn't go to live there?
The first house is occupied, but the homeowner was able to get out. The second house was unoccupied. So I can answer any questions about the fires in Morongo or any other topics you might have. Yes?
When you give the call volume, do you include mutual aid from Morongo Valley in that volume of calls?
No, those are just calls that take place in those areas.
And do you have a record of how many times you came and helped Morongo?
I can get that, yes. We have that in our reporting system. I didn't run that report today, but I can absolutely get that.
I would appreciate
Yes.
that.
Yes. Any other questions?
Thank you, Scott.
All right.
Okay, who have we got from CAL FIRE here tonight?
Chief Malinowski? All right.
Good evening, folks. Probably don't need this, but hi, I'm Grant Malinowski, Battalion Chief assigned out here at Yucca Valley Station, covering the Morongo Basin area for state lands. Wanted to come tonight. I know we haven't been here for a while. Introduce myself. Being a public agency, I think that you should have access to us so we can provide the best possible customer service to you. Couple things. This is my engine crew right here out of Yucca Valley Station. They showed up tonight because they were told to. And we like to use the word voluntold, so no, they wanted to be here. Right now, just a couple updates for us, what we're doing. You're going to see, if you haven't already, we have defensible space inspectors, and they're already doing LE-100s in Joshua Tree, so you will see that in the state lands, pretty much south of Alta Loma, in the section there. And then we have our engine folks are doing Morongo. They're out doing LE-100 inspections right now, and we'll start working our way up through the desert. Our battalion goes from Riverside County line to Joshua Tree, and then just over to that LA County line, so just a small stretch there. A couple of other things, staffing, like the chief said, wildland fire, it's like Christmas, it keeps coming, as soon as you get done with one, it's like, oh man, where do you guys start for the next one? We're staffing up in about 3 weeks, Helltac crews. We have engine staff, but the engines will be increased to 13 engines, frontline engines. The tankers are staffed right now just because we're getting some rains, but there's areas that are still drought stricken statewide. And there's a couple other hot topics on our website, fire.ca.gov, as far as the drought and El Nino. The drought hasn't been erased, even though we've got some heavy rains. And one of the other big things is the tree mortality. So we're trying to cut back on water, but we also need to deep water our large trees, not to lose them. And firewood's a big issue. Everybody in the desert burns firewood. Burn it where you buy it, and all that stuff's on the website, so we're not transferring pests. There's a major pest, the Golden State Oak Borer, coming out of Riverside County, and it's starting to spread. And the way we, as communities, can prevent that is to buy your firewood locally. So I wanted to say hello to the MAC committee members. I'll give you guys a card, and if you guys have any questions, we're available right out here at Yucca Valley Station. Thank you.
Will you be coming to the MAC meetings on a regular basis?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will, or I'll have one. If I'm unavailable because of response, I'll have one of the engines come.
Okay, if you want to give us your card, we'll put
Absolutely.
you on the mailing list so you'll know the meeting.
Perfect.
Date and time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Why don't you introduce your guys here?
Sure. This is good. Yeah, good afternoon, Mendoza. Firefighter Daniel Lopez. Engineer Anthony Nolan.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, on to item G, presentation by Superintendent David Smith of the Joshua Tree National Park. Can you give us an update?
Good evening, Simon. That was an awesome first presentation. I just want you to know I was really impressed. And I haven't really thought a lot about fire or Wonder Valley, but I got to tell you, I was coming back from Grand Canyon last night, and I was by Amboy, and a car flipped, and there was an injured person. Got to the top of the hill, I called 911. Before I got down, off the hill, Wonder Valley Fire was responding. So they were the first responder that was there. So I was really impressed with the turnaround time on that. So I just wanted to say hello to the MAC, tell you what's going on in the park this year, how things are looking inside the park. As most of you probably know, last year was an insane year at the park. Our visitation continued to rise. It went over 2 million people. And I kind of hope we had plateaued and it would start going down. But don't tell my boss I was hoping that, but I really was. But we're up 8% right now so far this year. So it's just going to be a wacky, crazy year. If you want to camp in the park, good luck. Because the sites are pretty full. We just begun the planning process looking at 2 new campsites inside the park, extending another loop down at Cottonwood, primarily for RVers, and try to get the RVs out of some of the topside parks. And we're also looking at expanding camping up at the Sheep Pass Borrow Pit, which is across from Sheep Pass, which is up in the middle of the park. So I'd like to expand the capacity of the park by 50 or 60 sites in the next couple of years. Back to capacity again, if you're from the Joshua Tree area, you might know that on the weekends, it's kind of hard to get into the park. Yeah. And man, is it tough. So we're trying to figure out how best to deal with that. One of the first solutions that we have is actually to put another station up there and to move those stations farther into the park and move the traffic into the park so it doesn't block everyone down there on the road. It's going to take a while. I got to find $1.5 million for that because I've got to expand the road to 2 lanes, and building a road is super expensive, way more expensive than I ever imagined as a junior park ranger. So we'll be using our fee dollars to do that, and that's kind of it's in the planning stages right now. We got the plan ready to go. I would imagine we'll have that done in about 2 years, which is not great, but it's better than 10 years. We're going to try to start diverting more and more traffic over to 29 Palms to be using that entrance, as well as the Cottonwood entrance as well on the southern side of the park. We get that through social media, through public service announcements, through signs on the highway. So we're getting really creative on how to do all those things right now. As I came in, one of your local residents asked me, how are the flowers inside the park? This is not a super duper year for flowers at Joshua Tree. I hate to say, as the firefighters reminded us, rainfall was not spectacular this year down in the Southland. It was spectacular in Death Valley. So if you don't mind the traffic up at Death Valley right now, it is just insane. Fields of yellow and yellow. That's one of the benefits of Scotty's Castle getting, inundated with mud and water. We got a lot of rain there. Not so much at the park right now. If you go into some of the washes, best place to go into a wash, because that's where the drainage is. I hiked up to the top of Eagle Mountain last weekend, and it was just stunning. Just verbena. It was really, really nice. If you can go out into the middle of the park, down into the Pinto Basin, hike out to those sand dunes that are in the middle of the Pinto Basin, you're going to see lots of primrose, you're going to see lots of verbena and things like that. So there are good flowers there. You just have to, it's not like crazy, crazy flower, but it's fun. I wanted to let everyone know, if you don't know yet, our esteemed Chief of Resources, Andrea, thank you, Andrea Compton. My mind is going. It's been a long day. She was just awarded the superintendency down at Cabrillo down in Point Loma, San Diego. So I'm very proud of her. But that means in 2 weeks she's leaving, and we're not going to see her anymore. So she is just stellar. I love her, and it's going to be really tough to lose her. In the last year, we've been able to increase our workforce at the park by 8 positions. And I was just informed my regional office that I am 8 positions over what I allowed to have at Joshua Tree. So I fully expect to get my wrist slapped really hard, but we really need those positions right now. So we are filling those positions as quickly as possible. One of the positions we just filled was the law enforcement position up at Indian Cove. So we have a ranger station there. We've not been able to have a ranger there for the last decade or so, but we've stuck a seasonal ranger there. And when he goes, we're going to stick another seasonal ranger in there. We have so many domestic issues in the campground and illegal activity in the campground. It's really nice to have a ranger nearby who can respond to some of those things. I have to look at my notes. I thought I could do it all off the top of my head, but I can't. We're finishing up the boundary study for the park. I've talked about that before to a lot of you. That's the Eagle Mountain area on the eastern border of the park. Expect at the end of this month a hard copy and electronic copies available. That means 30 days after it comes out, we'll be doing a public meeting down here in Joshua Tree to talk about that. And that's the whole idea of how much of that area on the east side of the park should be included in the park boundaries. A lot of it's public land in that areas. If that were to happen, the goal would be that it would be during this administration. So to be able to finish that during this year. We don't want to go into the next administration because who knows what will happen then. Just a reminder for fire inside of our park, our firefighters are all getting geared up right now. We're doing our red card annual retraining. We practice 100% suppression inside the park. So unlike a lot of national parks where we see fire as a healthy part of the ecosystem, as many of you probably know, the Mojave Desert did not evolve with fire. It's kind of a new thing in the Mojave Desert. It came with cattle during the 1880s that brought cheatgrass and red brome, grasses that just love to burn. So because of that, we actually suppress every one of the fires inside the park. That's one of my biggest concerns inside the park. And I think that's about all I wanted to talk about tonight, unless the members of the MAC or the members of the community have any questions for me about the park. Sir? Andrea's going to Cabrillo National Monument, which is located at the tip of Point Loma in San Diego. Sir?
Yeah, hi. Addressing the west entrance, which is what I'm assuming you're talking
Yes.
about. I've lived here for 20 years. I'm a climber. I also guide climbing the park, and I've suggested quite a few times, there's an alternative lane for people that have passes.
Well, it's funny that you should bring that up, and I'm going to cut to the chase right now. We have like 4 or 5 car lengths that we can stick people in there. We're going to cut out the curbing for about another, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 meters down the road, all the way down to that entrance sign, and make that into a pass lane. So if you have a pass, you would go into that lane and go straight into the park.
I've suggested it for the last 2 years.
Well, someone listened to you, and they said, that is a smart guy.
They keep, trying to get you to go to the other entrances, and if you're guiding, you've often, emailing people from out of state, and you've made plans to meet at intersection also, you can't change your plans.
I completely understand you. I'm just telling you the logistics of it. I need to get some money together so I can build a new entrance station and get power lines up there and everything else to do that. But it's going to take a little bit of work.
My point is, though, it would be a lot cheaper than the $1.3 million it's going to cost to move that further into the park if you didn't have to have a second person manning that, because somebody could just see your pass and you could just go through, and that would alleviate a lot of the traffic for right now.
Right. Thank you. Really good suggestion. Miss, you had a suggestion or question?
Just a question. We hiked 49 Palms Canyon last week, and there were two people with dogs, one with two big dogs, and then on the way back on the trail, there was a fake petroglyph of like an animal and some snowflakes. And, we don't feel comfortable confronting those people about the dogs.
No, you're right. No, I appreciate signage. We could have billboards up and down the trail that remind folks that dogs on trails inside of national parks are prohibited. The key to that is education by having rangers out there, and the next part of education is ticketing, and the next part of that is mandatory appearances before the magistrate. So there's an educational slope we can take with folks that continue to bring their dogs in there. We did a pretty good heavy-handed approach last year, and we kind of got lax, I think, over the last few months, but we're going to become more and more heavy-handed there. Thank you. Sir.
Following this question, you were vandalized by a visitor October 2014, I believe. She has still not been adjudicated. Can you give us an update on the status of that case?
So this was the woman who traveled around the country deciding that she would do her own inspirational rock art whenever she got into a really beautiful area and destroy it for the rest of us. They may have made some sort of an agreement with her. It's an ongoing investigation, and I don't know a lot about it. It's definitely in the law enforcement realm. They're still trying to track down all the places where she did vandalism in different parks. She said that she did in like 20 different locations. They're trying to track it down, but we have not forgotten. It will move forward. I'm sorry I don't know all the facts. If I do find out the facts, I will let you know. Okay? Sir.
You're expecting a lot more visitors because of the new national monument?
Because of the new national monument, are we expecting a lot more visitation? I would expect some. Remember that for us, that national monument was all protected area managed by the BLM. So it was public land. Now the higher level would allow for greater recognition. The public doesn't look at BLM as being often as significant and special as it is. But you throw a monument in front of it and people are like, wow, I got to go to that monument. So I do think it'll trickle in. I don't think it's going to be a big wave all at once. But I do expect more and more, and I expect more connectivity for visitors going down, through the park, down into the Morongo Basin, going up into the mountains that way, and making long distance kind of trail kind of opportunities. You guys have got a huge list of things to talk about tonight. I think the solar thing is going to keep you guys up all night, and I got to read to my kids eventually. So if the board do you have any questions for me? And as I told the public, my door is typically open. If you have an issue in the park, if you see something that bothers you, let me know. I can't always solve the problem, but I will try, and I will try to find someone on my staff that can address that problem.
David,
Sir.
just an obvious observation is that the more people that you have visiting without the accommodating dollars means less rangers per event that you might have. And so this actually isn't necessarily good news, it's just news in a sense, until someone offers up dollars to meet that.
Well, yeah, but there's some great avenues. So we got Meg down here. She's the director of JTNPA, which is our association. So, she's throwing a body at me that I can have up at Black Rock. We don't have enough staffing to keep Black Rock full, and so she has reached out, and she's come up with a person that can be there for most of the week that helps to serve the public. Volunteers. We've got a volunteer that helps out at West Entrance who's out there getting people into that pass lane as much as possible because I don't have enough staff to spread them out there. So with volunteers, with great partners and things like that, JOSAR, what national park that has 2 million visitors a year depends almost entirely on volunteers to do their search and rescue? I cannot thank Dave Pileman and that crew enough for what they do to help protect our park and people. So we're trying to sell more and more passes at the visitor center in Joshua Tree. So that's the key. We've talked about doing the same thing and actually working with private businesses to sell passes, automated passes, because that way they can just show the pass. So like at Shreko Summit on the south side, and maybe some businesses in 29 Palms and in Joshua Tree, that might also be an avenue as well. Okay, I'll let you guys.
You can get a pass
At the visitor center. At all the visitor centers, you can buy a pass right now.
I let mine lapse, and now you're making me nervous.
Well, it's obvious that you're not 62, because that would be where you'd have to get a senior pass. You've got another 20 years to go on that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, appreciate it. Thanks, Ian. Okay, item H. What we're going to do is we're going to read, I'll read you a short script on here, and then we're going to go for a motion and then a discussion. During that discussion period, you'll be able to comment. And we have some of the comment sheets that have listed both our resolutions, and we'll take the solar one first, then we'll get back to you on the Altamira. Okay, resolution MB-MAC 014. It is recommended that the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council adopt resolution MB-MAC 04 requesting denial of application by NextEra to construct a commercial solar energy facility at the site of the defunct Joshua Tree Airport. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion. Second.
Okay, we'll open it up for discussion. And who do you have first?
Buckley.
Buck, have you changed or something? Oh, okay.
Only on Altamira right now, okay?
Buckley, Joshua Tree.
Oh, solar. Sorry.
We're doing solar, right? The airport.
I apologize.
Buckley, Joshua Tree resident. First, I want to thank this panel for moving these resolutions forward. I think it's wonderful. I'm a solar contractor, and pretty much I totally believe that rooftop distributed energy is the right way, and large commercial scale solar will not make its term, which is 25 years when you build one of these projects. Rooftop is already producing almost 48% of all the new energy requirements for new homes and things in California. That's what they wanted by 2030. They have it now, just on rooftops. Edison and the rest are facing a resolution at the State Assembly to use eminent domain to eliminate them and go to a state-run grid. I don't know if you guys know that, but that's coming down the pike too. The state's a little upset with the utilities because they've overpriced. Spectre Energy Group runs pretty much half the state's utility companies, and they write contracts behind closed doors to themselves, essentially. And the state's finding out all this, and they're really upset about it. So I think we're going to have a state-run grid with a CEC, and I think that this is just the wrong way to go, and it doesn't belong in a little town of Joshua Tree. Thank you.
Thank you, Buck. Next speaker is Darla, is it Bonham?
Oh, okay. It's right here. No problem.
I'm not too sure how this works. Okay. I do believe in solar power. We paid to put in our own solar system last year. I wasn't against the solar system that went into Joshua Tree a couple years ago. I've changed my opinion on it. Beginning of the month, my husband and I helped clean up that one block by the airport. We only spent 2 hours, and code enforcement was there. In the 2 hours that we were there, we filled 3 humongous, one of those tractor trailer things, 3 of them with mattresses. I am fed up with the way I see the attitude out here in the basin. If you are west of Joshua Tree, God forbid there's a solar field or windmills. But if you are east of Joshua Tree, the attitude seems to be put all the solar fields you want in Joshua Tree, on Sunfair, on Lear, on Indian, throw all your trash. It's okay because those people don't matter. I'm sorry, but that's the way I'm beginning to feel. So I thank the MAC. I'm for solar energy. I'm for renewable energy, but I'm tired of my backyard being a dump ground. God forbid we pollute the night sky. Well, I'm sorry, folks. Stop looking in the sky at night and start looking at the ground in the daytime and looking at the trash that's out here. Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Sarah Kennington.
Hello, I'm representing the Morongo Basin Conservation Association. I'm the president of the MBCA, and today we submitted a letter to Land Use Services opposing the NextEra development, and I would like to read the MBCA position. The placement of commercial solar facilities affects the natural environment, the economic well-being of the desert communities, and citizens' quality of life. We find the initial study, 1, does not fulfill the required findings of the county solar ordinance or conform to Development Code Section 842935.2. Incorrectly describes on-site and off-site, indirect and direct, and construction and operational impacts on aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, and geology and soils. And finally, does not provide necessary and adequate information or analysis of cumulative impacts as required of CEQA. And there is an amazing, thanks to Pat Flanagan and others, 15-page document, letter that with lots of photographs showing how it impacts the aesthetics and how it's placed in the environment. With lots of specifics, but that's a quick overview. But let me just, as a final, the reports used to prepare the study are not timely and do not reflect conditions in the Morongo Basin, and therefore the conclusion drawn from them are inadequate. The initial study relies on out-of-date and inaccurate data and evaluations, and therefore does not comply with the CEQA public disclosure requirement. The public is unable to adequately participate in the planning process. The planning commissioners are not provided with adequate findings and should therefore deny Joshua Tree Solar Farm LLP a CUP and require the preparation of an EIR and the project for the project to move forward. In addition, the Development Code 842935 must be incorporated into the CEQA checklist for future analysis. So that is the letter. That's a position of the MBCA, and that letter will be on file for you to read all the detailed background information at MB Conservation tomorrow, tomorrow.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. David Fick.
Good evening, MAC members and public. I also happen to be associated with the MBCA. I'm vice president, but I'm speaking as an individual on this one. Sarah's our pres, and she's pretty accurate, and she had the report. I don't have the report in front of me. But I've been involved in this battle with NextEra quite a bit, and on the NextEra, the overall, or the overview on this is NextEra bought an already old PPA, which is a power purchase agreement that was sold to or arranged to and accepted and approved by SCE with British Petroleum in 2011. I was on the JT Mac when this happened, and they found out that British Petroleum pulled out worldwide out of solar projects, so they sold all their PPAs to NextEra. NextEra then took their sweet time. They've had it since 2012, and they didn't plan on a drought, so they thought they were going to get water pretty easily. They aren't yet. And the problem is, again, this is an old PPA, which means the deadline for online performance is before the end of this year, which means that if it takes at least 4 months to do this, they need to have all their permits and approvals pretty much before the beginning of this summer. And that's the pressure. That's why you hear about them having to get water in the worst way, which they probably will. And I was going to say, NextEra has also got a contract in the Morongo Basin through the Morongo Unified School District. And they got it about a year and a half to 2 years ago They're already in penalty phase on the project as of October 2015. In other words, because they're behind deadline, they should be paying every day since October 2015. And that's pretty much what I have to say. They're rushing this through because being an old PPA, they were selling or buying, they were selling the electricity to SCE at a 2011 arranged price, which is around 13 cents per kilowatt hour or $130 per megawatt. When the going rate now is more than half that. That's why this PPA is so juicy. It's because very old, very lucrative for them. Therefore, if they were trying to get another PPA, RAM PPA, this time around, they'd be getting about half as much money. That's what their impetus for. It's just purely greed. That's all. Thank you.
No, that's all I have.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Richard, would you mind reading the resolution MB-MAC-014, just for the record?
Whereas, whereas the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council is mindful of its role to listen to the views of the residents of the Morongo Basin on matters of importance to them and is otherwise permitted by law. And whereas pursuant to section 84.21.040F of the ordinance of San Bernardino County relating to the establishment of commercial solar energy generation facilities, hereinafter the solar ordinance, the MAC is to be notified of any pending application thereunder with respect to the Morongo Basin. And whereas the MAC has heard views of interested parties concerning a proposed industrial solar facility at the site of the decommissioned Roy Williams Airport in Joshua Tree, including presentations of the sponsor as well as residents and businesses of the Joshua Tree and surrounding areas and other interested parties. And whereas the members of the MAC are aware that a review of the JT Airport solar project is or will shortly be before the San Bernardino County Planning Commission, which has the authority to determine whether such project meets appropriate legal standards, including the provisions of the solar ordinance for new commercial solar energy generating facilities in the unincorporated areas of the county. And whereas residents of Joshua Tree and the Morongo Basin have provided their views to the MAC regarding the JT Airport solar project. And whereas based on the presentations to the MAC represents that the prevailing sentiment of the Joshua Tree and Morongo Basin community is that the JT Airport solar project will clearly create unreasonable visual blight for visitors and residents, would be detrimental to the aesthetics and economy of the area, including without limitation the over 2 million annual visitors to the Joshua Tree National Park, for thousands of patrons attending Joshua Tree music festivals and neighboring permanent outdoor arts installations. And in the view of many residents, the findings of the initial study of the project by the County Land Use Services are not consistent with the solar ordinance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council recommends that the San Bernardino County Planning Commission take into consideration the views of Joshua Tree area and Morongo Basin residents and businesses to the effect that the application to construct a commercial solar energy generation facility at the site of the defunct Joshua Tree Airport be denied.
Okay, we've heard a motion to approve the resolution. We'll go ahead and back to the board, the council, and do I hear a second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 9-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to the next item on there is the resolution MB-MAC-015. It is recommended that the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council adopt resolution MB-MAC-015 opposing the proposed Altamira housing project. Before I we go to a motion. There is one item on the back page, on page 3, that we're going to need a correction on there. And the second to the last paragraph says Altaloma. It should read Altamira.
Right.
And with that change, we'll go ahead and take a motion to approve it.
So moved, approve it as corrected.
Approve it as corrected. We've got a,
I second.
okay. Okay, we'll go ahead for discussion. Pat, would you mind reading the resolution? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, we need comment first.
Have a drink of water.
Have a drink of water, I got ahead of you, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. I was just making sure you were volunteering. Alexis? Alex, is that Alexis?
Wrong mic.
Check. Good evening, Mac and fellow residents. Besides just about everything that could possibly be wrong with this project that's already been discussed at the last meeting, which is not limited to but includes increased traffic, the fact that Friendly Hills Elementary School is against it, the neighbors are against it, tortoises have been found, increased traffic. There's a ton of things that are wrong with this, but I wanted to focus on a different aspect that the developers of this project never addressed, and that's specifically the demographics of the project, or more specifically, what this would do to the increase in population of Joshua Tree. If you look up the statistics based on the latest Census Bureau, which actually are somewhat incorrect if you try to Google this information, you find out that the average household size up here is approximately 2.5 people per household, and that the average the total area of Joshua Tree spans approximately 100 square miles, which sounds huge, but it's not that big. That's just a box, 10 miles by 10 miles approximately. But at any rate, their proposed project, which was 248 units, which are supposedly supposed to take 10 years in multiple phases to complete. If you multiply that 250 units by the average household size, you end up with an increase in people of 620 people. So what they're basically essentially doing would be increasing the total population of Joshua Tree, which is approximately 8,500 people, by almost 10%, and cramming that 10% increase in population into an area that's 1/500th the total area of Joshua Tree. In other words, all those people will be in 1/5 of a square mile. So the current population density of Joshua Tree is approximately 80 per square mile, and that would up the population density in one of the more crowded neighborhoods in Joshua Tree to approximately 3,000 per square mile. That's on par with Los Angeles suburbs, including Santa Clarita, El Segundo, West Hollywood Hills, Playa del Rey, Hollywood Hills, Tahunga, the list goes on. And these are all areas of LA that have approximately that population density. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexis. Joseph Botari?
Hello, my name's Joe Batari. I'm a Joshua Tree resident. I've said, as many of us have, over and over again, that this high-density housing development is a very bad idea. It will profoundly change Joshua Tree from a small town to getting towards a city, which I don't think any of us want. We could all move to a city if we wanted to. We live in Joshua Tree because we like a small town. I believe if this project goes through, that other projects will use that as a precedent to build other high-density housing developments in Joshua Tree, and I don't think any of us will know Joshua Tree in 10 years. that's it. I think it's a very bad idea, and I think it's a big mistake if we let it go through. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. Buckley?
Got the right one. Buck Buckley, Joshua Tree. I am a general contractor. I am familiar with developments and TI work and everything you can imagine through the years. And there is an appropriateness to what you do where you're at. And to put this type of housing project, which is basically, Irvine down below stuff up here, sets a precedent to allow it to occur more and more and more in our community. And that's what I'm against. Once you do one, the others come. Once we let in, the big box stores. I moved here because we don't look like everywhere else yet. And everywhere else looks like everywhere else. Wherever you go, it doesn't matter. There is no charm and flair and flavor to the community anymore when you travel across country. When I did it when I was 16 or 17, after I got my license, I went cross country. And every town you came to had its own little flavor. And now they all look the same. There may be a little bit of it left somewhere, but most of it's all gone. And I think that's very important to protect. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Buck. Noreen Lawler?
I really don't have a lot to say because it looks like you've already passed the resolution. And everybody else has said what I wanted to say. But, and I've written several letters and I even have notes with me, which I'm all proud of. But everybody knows kind of the thing, so I don't see any point. And I'm very happy that you passed the resolution, or you will be passing a resolution. The only thing I will say is I work in Los Angeles a couple of days a week. And because of the huge increase in traffic there, it's almost unbearable. And it's increased in the last 2 or 3 years to the point where surface streets, freeways, doesn't matter what time of day you go out. And I just kind of, when I'm here, it feels a lot better. Still not great, but at least, keeping it rural, I think is a really important thing for all of us. So thank you.
Thank you, Noreen. David Fick?
David Fick again. This time actually I'm a former Joshua Tree Municipal Advisory Council member that sat right there for 7 years between 2006, 2012. And there was a meeting here in 2009. And they got 100% rejection from the public that was here. It was both rooms are filled here. It's over 110, 120 people. They were told no on every sense. That meeting was videotaped because we learned from earlier experiences independently. And that DVD was submitted to county planning. They lost it. It was then submitted to county planning 2 years later. They lost it. It was then submitted again, and they told me, the planner, in this case Chris Warwick, told me he wasn't going to watch it until he got paid. And he was going to get paid through the initial study fee going forward. So they hadn't paid it then, so he didn't watch it then. Now it's on YouTube, by the way. They can't lose YouTube, but they sort of flattened it a bit. My observation on this, because I've gone through the report a bit, not completely, but a bit, and I've noticed that there were over about 65 comments against this project. There were none for it, of course. And the 65 comments against it, there were over a dozen that actually mentioned the Joshua Tree Community Plan. The county staff did not mention or, give any reaction to the mentioning of that. They're supposed to answer the questions. They avoided that completely. They are banned from mentioning the word Joshua Tree Community Plan. Literally, it's really, go through it. Do a search. It's a PDF. Put in Joshua Community Plan up above. There is nothing in there by the county admitting that there's a Joshua Community Plan. Now, this is a Jekyll and Hyde situation because we just had a meeting about, 3 weeks ago where we had planners and consultants talking to us, and they were pretty much letting us know that they knew that we were against high development. They agreed, high density development. They also knew that we were against the Dollar General, but that's another topic. So I'm trying to figure out how come from up above. Now, this county planner, I don't know if he's ever going to be honest with us, but he is given directions not to mention, even acknowledge the Joshua Tree Community Plan from 2007. And it's obviously a sore point, but there's directions from up above not to recognize it in this project consideration.
Doesn't CEQA require that Joshua Tree Community Plan be
Yes,
reviewed for this project?
we think so. As things go, you're supposed to get into litigation with them. That's what I understand. By the way, I saw your comment. You were corrected by county with bad figures. They said Joshua Tree was 30 square miles. County planning was saying Joshua Tree was 30 square miles.
Thanks, David. Appreciate it. Okay, Paul Smith.
Good evening. I'm Paul Smith. I sit on the Planning Commission, so I'm not here for any of you to argue with me or anything like that. I appreciate that you're all here, but I'm here to point out that the hearing on this will be televised, as I'm informed, at the county offices in Joshua.
It'll be video conferenced
Right.
this Thursday at 9 a.m. We'll be able to talk to you through the video conferencing.
Okay, that's good, because I should tell you that the official package that came from the county to the commissioners did not include any of your comments, so it's important for you to be there and make those comments.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. Okay, did we miss anybody? Okay, at this time, Pat, would you mind reading the actual resolution? Oh, sure. Sure, Tom.
I'm going to ask a couple questions first. Sorry. Okay, and in this audience, this is not going to be good, you're not going to take this well, but they're just questions. I'm not supporting anything. Doesn't the putting in new housing increase our our property taxes? Doesn't that account for the county? Yeah, and then, but it does. Not if they're vacant. Okay. What?
They foreclosed because we only have so much population to buy out here. So when you build new houses, then you have a high foreclosure rate, especially on your older houses. So you're going to lower the property rates in the end. I mean,
Excuse me, stop. If we're going to talk back and forth, we have to have a mic, because otherwise it's a waste of time.
And is it okay if somebody answers my questions? I mean, they don't have to be rhetorical, do they?
Yeah, sure. We'll give it a few minutes. Sure.
Okay.
I think he did a better job of answering. He's the one that originally said.
Well, yeah,
Just answer. So please, because otherwise.
I mean, they're genuine questions. I'm not trying to make a particular point.
It says it's green.
Go ahead.
I guess it's not working. Can you go up here? I'm sorry, but we need to have sound.
In my experience up here, we've had much smaller versions of this project. What ends up happening is, I think when the developers were here at the last meeting that we had, their suggested sales price, I think, was exorbitant for the area. I think it was something like $280,000 per unit that they are thinking that they're going to sell. The average median home sale price up here is barely above $120,000. So you can do the math. In addition, they claim they're going to do it in 10 years. That could easily turn into 20 years. And then if they don't get their project funded through every single phase, you could end up having houses that are not completely finished, that are just sitting there. They then become dilapidated. You get tons of people up here that think they're going to move up here and get a job, and then they find out there's no work. We don't have the jobs We don't have the water. We don't have the services. The National Park Superintendent that was just here just informed us that the visitation is only going to go up. It's 8% higher already. It was 2.3 million visitors last year. The prior year was 1.5. Everybody that goes up to the national park has to use Park, and it's right near the corner of Park and Alta Loma, which is already a traffic nightmare. So that's only going to get worse. So in my opinion, this is going to decrease property values everywhere else, including probably in the neighborhoods that are south up the hill towards the Highlands, including everywhere around that area.
So aside from the idea that that it's just way too many people in a small area and would tax the resources that we would have if it did actually fill, the other part of it is that there's no real trust from us that there's no real trust from us that they will even be able to fill them at the kind of rate they're talking about. And so then it would be a project that would be a failure in many ways aside from that. Is getting that the sense?
Well, that's part of it. And then if you're building, I'm in construction as well. I do custom remodel. And if you've got that many, in essence, they're sort of slightly high-end tracts, you're going to have massive amounts of heavy equipment, cement trucks, you're going to have a ton of workers, and that is going to be going on for more than a decade. So you can imagine what that's going to look like in that neighborhood, in this little teeny town of a normal population density of about 80 per square mile. That's going to make it like an LA suburb.
Okay. And there's just one more question then. Would it not, if they were successful, would it not help also with raising the amount of money that the school district got?
I'm not
from those tax kind of things?
I'm not qualified to answer that.
Okay, I just want the full picture. I'm not really, because I'm relatively new to, I know about the project, but I was relatively new to some of the arguments. So.
Somebody else like to answer that? Come on up, Buck.
I believe the term that they used was empty nesters were coming in. These aren't going to be people with kids buying a $280,000 house here, not Marines. These are going to be empty nesters is what they wanted to. These are people that come out and buy to get a house in the desert that's totally maintained. They don't have to do anything.
Well, that's even better. If they don't have kids to put in the schools and they're giving money to the tax base for the schools, then that's actually a help.
I go back to the precedent being set. This would just be the first of many at that point, and we would not have it happen.
With the schools, we would get the school fee.
Pick up the one.
The school fee for the permit fees, and that's it. That helps like facilities, but you only get money for the kids if they're actually in the classroom. So that's what it's like. It's like the day the kids in the class, they get money. If they're absent, you don't get money that day. So if there's no kids in the development besides that initial permit fee, school fee, you won't get anything. It's very little coming out of the county taxes. You corrected me about that one time, Mark, I remember. So, anything else about here? Any other questions?
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, if there's nothing else, now, Pat, you can read the resolution, please.
Okay. Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council, Joshua Tree Community Center, regular open session meeting, 6:30 p.m. Monday, March 14, 2016. Resolution number 015. A resolution of the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council regarding the proposed Altamira Gated Community Housing Project. Whereas the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council, MAC, is mindful of its role to report on the views of the residents of the Morongo Basin on matters of importance to them and as others permitted by law, and whereas the initial study dated July 15, 2014 of the county's Land Use Services Department has tendered a mitigated negative declaration with respect to an application to construct a 248-unit residential housing development in the community of Joshua Tree, referred to as the Altamira Project, And whereas residents of Joshua Tree have represented to this MAC that among other deficiencies, the initial study does not consider any of the explicit provisions of the Joshua Tree Community Plan of 2007, the incorporation of which into an initial study is a requirement of CEQA, including without limitation the limitation of vegetation removal, e.g. Joshua trees, only to building pads and driveways, a standard which should have been incorporated into the initial study. And whereas the proposed project site is within the frequently flooded southwestern portion of the Joshua Tree region, as most dramatically experienced recently in the nationally reported flash flood of September 16, 2014, in which one adult male was killed, during which an infant was forcibly swept from an affected formerly intact house, which flash flood occurred 2 months subsequent to the date of the initial study. And whereas it has been represented to this MAC by local Joshua Tree community members adjacent to the proposed Altamira gated community site that they and the neighbors are uniformly against this project in view, among other things, of the sponsor-admitted decades of construction, disruption to them and the Friendly Hills Elementary School, which will have the long-term community effects of unnecessarily depressing nearby property values, increasing already existing traffic problems, destroying thousands of native plants, and greatly impairing unreasonably their quality of life. And whereas the local residents have informed us that they have witnessed desert tortoises within the project site, which directly contradicts the representations of the proponent of the Land Use Services Department to the effect that there is no evidence of the presence of desert tortoises. And whereas neighboring residents have expressed anxiety regarding the proponent's description without specific elaboration of a planned 10-year or greater period of completion of construction through project phases because of the deleterious environmental effects to be expected upwind of the Friendly Hills Elementary School, including without limitation wind-borne dust and the creation of dangerous attractive nuisance construction sites for a decade or more. And whereas the residents of Joshua Tree, based on their view of the proponent's delayed and inappropriate response to valid community concerns over the last decade, are concerned that the proponent will not be able to marshal the monetary resources to complete the project under reasonable forecasting of construction costs and the foreseeable market in Joshua Tree, leaving the community to deal with the unfinished housing development with all its likely consequences. And whereas community member views have been provided to the Land Use Services Department by over 60 letters of comment, which raise concerns about various aspects of the project. Now therefore, be it resolved that in view of the concerns of the Joshua Tree community regarding apparently unaddressed and unanswered environmental and other relevant issues regarding the proposed Altamira residential housing project, that serious consideration be given by the Planning Commission to requiring the proponent to prepare an environmental impact report in accordance with CEQA requirements. Approved and adopted by the Morongo Basin Municipal Advisory Council at its regular meeting held on the 14th day of March 2016, at which a quorum was present, by the following vote.
Thank you, Pat.
And I want to make a comment about how to get some information that people may need, but when do you want me to do that?
Well, let's go ahead and take a formal vote on it.
Okay.
We've already had a motion. Do I hear a second to approve it? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. 9-0. Okay, go ahead, Pat.
Okay. The meeting that is going to be Thursday morning at 9 o'clock in the Joshua Tree County Building. In order to get information for your own background for that, the best place to go is to Google San Bernardino County Planning Commission agenda. When that comes up on your screen, you click on the agenda and it will give you the Land Use Services Planners Report to the Planning Commission. That report will have the documents in it, including all of the letters that have been sent in, which, as Mr. Smith pointed out, they didn't get in their packet. If you wanted to read something first, try reading the letters. There's a lot of excellent comments in them that have been thought through. And I would, of course, urge everyone to do their civic duty as necessary and possible and attend the meeting. And if you feel like you need some ammunition, then you can look at the documents. Yes?
I just want like super duper clarity on that. So they released the PDF of the staff report with all the letters telling everybody that's the staff report. But then the planning commission got a report that did not have the comments in it. Is that right?
That's correct.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
I believe that's a violation of CEQA. The other thing that I would also point out is that if you go to the planning department where they put the documents for projects, the documents for this project are not up. The only thing you will find is the notice of intent and the initial study. In order to see the documents that were submitted with their plan, you can go to the Morongo Basin Conservation Association website, because I went and asked for those documents, and they gave them to me on a CD. But otherwise, you have to go get them, but they don't really tell you that. The other thing is that the transportation study, which was completed in 2011, is not all up on the MBCA website because it was too large. So you have no access to that. But except for the introductory pages, I believe they actually left out the studying the school, 2 schools. Yes?
Just real quickly, it's a 206-page PDF document, but page 121 is where the letters start.
Thank you. So any other questions? Yes.
Is there a group of people that are going to be willing to appeal this to the Board of Supervisors if the Planning Commission passes it?
I do not know the answer to that. That would be a community response.
Thank you, Pat. We can cross that bridge when we get to it. I just want to expand a little bit on the video conferencing center for you people that have never been there. It is actually a two-way conversation with the Planning Commission. We've never done this before. We've requested it. It's only done usually during a regular supervisors board meeting. I believe they are following Brown Act to where you'll have 3 minutes for a response. Is that true? They probably haven't told the Planning Commission yet what the rules are. But normally this will be a meeting where you'll get to respond for 3 minutes and they'll move on to the next comment. That's what I was told. So it's very important if you want to comment on that to get your 3 minutes in. Again, it's at the county building, the new portion of it, at the east end of the parking lot, east end of the court. And they will have a counter there. You'll be able to go in and write your questions on a questionnaire just like you did tonight, on a comment sheet, and then comment to the planning commissioners. Now, this is for Altamira. We are going to also try to get a planning commission video conference for the solar also, and that date has not been advertised yet. I understand they had so many comments on the solar project, they're still filtering through those, so the date hasn't been announced yet. So what we will do as a MAC, and once that date's announced, we will put it on the same list that we use for the MAC. You'll be notified by email when that date comes up. So, Paul, you're going to be a star here on Thursday morning. Yeah. So, yeah. Make up, please. So thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Again, it's up to you guys now to show up at that planning commission meeting and voice your opinion. And I appreciate everybody coming. And the last thing I want to mention is that we were noticed very late on this project also that the planning commission was meeting on the 17th. We had 3 people in this room that were on our land use committee that were appointed rapidly to the committee, and they worked diligently night and day to get this document done. If they want to stand up and take a bow, that's fine. If they don't, I'd like to give them a hand with everybody else. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Are we going to do any committee reports?
Oh, committee reports. Does anybody really want to do it? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Here.
I
I'm going to turn this over. Okay. I'm sorry. We got committee report. I don't have anything tonight, so I didn't think anybody else did. Go ahead. Richard.
I would just report that Landers is having a rodeo in May, the end of May. It's formally planned. So anybody who wants to come to a rodeo, it's on May 25th, I think. May 27th and 28th.
Okay, we're going to rush through our community reports now. They're important. So, Tom, what do you got?
Quickly, we have a new, we call for order, please. We have quiet in the audience. Thank you. Don't make me come over there. Okay. So I have, just quickly, we have a new board of officers for the Yucca Mesa Improvement Association. New president is Chris Nichols, first vice president Paula Carter, second vice president Bo Sands, treasurer Leslie Murray, and our new secretary is Olivia de Hoville. Our new buildings and grounds maintenance person is Rick Sayers. This Friday, the Andromeda Society and the Star Party will occur. On the 30th, the Morongo Basin Fishing Club will meet. And then we're having swap meets now, like the first Saturday of every month. And they've been helping raise money. So I certainly recommend them to any other community center that might be in a remote area that could do that. That's been a pretty good thing. With the outgoing administration up at the Yucca Mesa Improvement Association, because our community center has to pay property taxes, which are pretty high, the outgoing administration advised me that they're looking for someone to take over the use of the property, mainly to pay the taxes, but would be able to make use of it. And so if anyone knows of a nonprofit organization that might be interested in that, that's certainly going to be up for grabs, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Lib?
I just have a couple of things. Excuse me, the roads in Flamingo Heights are still a problem, and we're having a potluck tomorrow night, and supposedly we're having a neighborhood watch from the Sheriff's Department, but they have not confirmed. They confirmed a month ago, but they are nowhere to be heard since then. So I hope everybody can be there.
I have not. I've been doing double duty, so I apologize. Next time I'll have double the information for you.
Well, Copper Mountain Mesa has been quite a hub. I'm glad for the opportunity to share it with everyone. First of all, we had a breakfast, and the breakfast was really well. If you're not coming out for breakfast, you're missing a good one. Get thee out there. The next one is Saturday, April 2nd. Most recently, we had a visitation by Supervisor Ramos himself. Introduced him to a nonprofit community center, one of the few that are privately owned out here, like Tom's, like everybody's up here. So I don't really think he was aware of how we exist, so it was nice opening up his eyes. And he really is a nice guy, believe it or not. I was happy to have him out there. Also in our area, as with Lib, our roads have been atrocious. There was a meeting with some of our residents and a gentleman by the name of Reese Troublefield, who is in charge of roads for special districts. And the meeting was okay. As a result of it, we did get a partial grading of the roads. It was wasn't to the residents' liking, but they did do something, and it did get trashed pretty fast. We are expecting that there will be another meeting with Reese coming up. Exactly when, I don't know, but we're getting some notice. We're not going to shut up about it, so just keep going. I also want to tell you about Morongo Basin Haven. They're the homeless resource organization. They did finish their homeless count, and there are 137 under the stars, which means those are people who do not have a roof over their head, they don't sleep on somebody's couch, they don't have a bed, they sleep under the stars. They are working with the county for a homeless shelter. There are plans in the works. They're not saying exactly where, but we're going to get a shelter up here. It's much needed. On March 25th, they're going to have a golf tournament. It's to benefit Morongo Basin Haven and the Basin wide. On April 2nd, there's going to be a homeless vet event at the Joshua Tree Community Center. It is put on by some people who are new to the area, and all of the proceeds are for the homeless vets. I'm sorry, I don't know much more about it. Also on Saturday, April 2nd, at all of the Stater Brothers, you're not going to see Girl Scouts, you're going to see Rotarians. And we are going to be collecting food and money. It's our third annual food drive. Last year, we collected enough food and money to feed 116,000 people. So as you're going to Staters that day, we'll give you a list. Buy us a jar of peanut butter, a can of beans. We don't ask for much. And we make sure it's distributed only to the Morongo Basin and only to the food banks up here. And I'm the chair of that program, and I make sure. So if you see us out there, please buy me a jar of peanut butter, okay? And no, well, you can buy me cookies, but and there's going to be a community health fair on April 30th. So now you're up to date. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Gail Swart. I want to, from Morongo Valley. I want to thank Gary and Dan who came here tonight from Morongo Valley with their concern over the dog kennel. I know it's something that they've been working on for a long time, and I'm hoping that eventually we'll find some kind of ground that will be workable for them and for the person who's doing the dog kennel. We're having a firefighters auxiliary burrito breakfast with chocolate dipped strawberries on Saturday, this Saturday the 19th, to help the fire department. It's a fundraiser for the fire department. We're moving along on our fire tax. We're building momentum. We have a community outreach group that is doing a wonderful job of making presentations to the community so that they understand that what we're asking for is not for a Cinderella fire department, but for a basic fire department that we're going to be able to keep for some years in the future. Because right now, it's just, we're still working back in 2002, and that kind of money does not pay for a fire department with advanced life support that we have with paramedics. That's all for me.
I have nothing.
Okay, now, anything else? Did I miss anything? All right, adjourned. Thank you. For all coming. Yeah.